Also wanted to record this part because I'm not sure if it's going to work. So today was a big day, and I wanted to record this section because I wanted to document what had happened. But one of the things that I do, other than knitting, is running. I don't do it professionally. It's just the kind of exercise I like to do, to hop into a treadmill twice, 3 times a week and just go for 5 kilometers, about 3.1 miles. And I only started doing that about a year ago. Just going to the gym, on and off, running, walking, doing interval training, as it's called, getting myself up to a point where I can run continuously for a total of 25-30 minutes. Okay, that's a respectable time. Well, let me give you a little backstory here. I'm in my mid-30s. For the longest time, since before I was a teenager, I'd been aware of having something called bicuspid aortic valve. If you're not sure what that is, well, I'll spare you the medical details, but let's just leave it at that my heart is enlarged because I can't pump blood out of my heart as your average person's heart can do. When I was younger, this led to certain restrictions, including no continuous running, most importantly, but no roller coasters, no basketball, no football, soccer, you name it. Baseball was okay, but also no weightlifting, no pull-ups, no rope climbs, no climbing, no heavy lifting, that whole deal. So I'll spare you the details of what had happened since, but it wasn't until a few years ago, and I do mean barely a few years ago, where my cardiologist said, by the way, we don't have these restrictions on you anymore. Okay, cool. Combined with a discount that I can get at a local gym that work would pay for, I started going to the gym more. And I started doing cardio. And as I started in this story, I did a lot of running. I did enough where, toward the end of last year, I entered my first 5K race, although gimmicky. That race was, well, actually I'm wearing a shirt for it now, the New York City Cupcake Run. The premise was that you run 5K around Astoria Park in New York, and got a little fuzzball there. And at 3 points in the middle of said race, you stop, and you must consume a cupcake at one of the stations before you continue the race. That's it. And it was a nice first 5K because it was well paced, it was in a nice venue, it was fairly small, and no matter how well or poor you've run, you had to stop and take a break and enjoy a cupcake. It's a beautiful concept. But anyway, I was walking part of it. My brother-in-law was trying to help me keep pace, bless his soul. And I did fairly well. I finished, 16th out of a field of about 200, maybe? Anyhow, I kept at it. I kept on going to the gym and I kept on running. I got below 26 minutes on your average treadmill-based 5K before my brother-in-law brought to the attention another 5K race, albeit this one in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. That 5K took place today. But in preparation for it, I've been to the gym a lot more. I've even taken to running around the streets of my neighborhood. So earlier this week, I post a personal best in the gym of a time of about 23 minutes, 59 seconds. Okay, so that doesn't sound like much, and okay, I'm milking at 29 seconds. It may as well have been 24 minutes flat, but that's not really the point. It was the first time that over 5,000 meters the treadmill automatically went into the cool down mode when the timer did not hit the 24th minute. So that's the reason why I'm telling you. Also, last week, I was running around my neighborhood, and I finally did laps on my hilly outdoor terrain and finished 5,000 meters at a pace of around 25 minutes, 36 seconds. All right? That brings us to today. Today was my first official 5K race that did not have any gimmicks, that you had to run the entire way around. This time was in McCarran Park in Williamsburg. It's my first time doing this. Okay? So I figured it would be a nice goal not to finish first. That would be too unwise. But my goal was to just be below 25 minutes. And I was basing my 25-minute goal on two factors. The first being that my fastest outdoor time was 25:30, and that the previous week I broke 24 minutes. Yes, I'm counting 23 minutes, 59 seconds as breaking 24 minutes. Come on now. And also knowing that the neighborhood in which the race was taking place was nearly, if not totally flat. So I thought that was a reasonable goal. So here we are. We're at the venue. My brother-in-law gives me the lowdown of what's going on. And for those that haven't taken part in a larger race, the idea is you're given a bib that may have a computer chip on it. And the gun goes off and the race starts, but your personal time doesn't officially start until after you cross the starting line. So this makes it fair if you're starting about 10 minutes behind the leaders when the gun goes off. And you don't really have a fair shot to go for it for 10, 20 seconds until you reach the gate. But anyway, I digress. When the gun goes off and I cross the line, I set my watch timer to see what my pace is going to be and so forth. I'm mentally preparing myself to run below 5 minutes per kilometer in the race for 5K. Secondly, I'm preparing myself to throw out my first kilometer because either I'm going to be caught in a pack and forced to slow down, or I'm going to be caught in a fast pack and completely overblowing my pace, the one that I want to keep. So around the second kilometer, I see a man about 10 meters or so ahead of me that's running about the same pace that I am. He's not pulling ahead of me and I'm not catching up to him, but I'm in a comfortable groove. And he becomes my rabbit, so to speak. I'm following him around. And I'm noticing my watch. I'm doing, 4 minutes, 35 seconds or so per kilometer. I'm like, okay, if I keep this up, then I'll have a sub 25, which is exactly my goal. And if I can't keep it up, then I might build myself a nice cushion up until the halfway. So by the time the halfway point comes around, my brother-in-law, my running mate, is probably about 100 meters ahead of me. He's running at his own pace. He's not waiting for me or anything like that. And my rabbit's still ahead of me a bit. But after 2/3 or so of the race is over, my pace is still around 4 minutes 35 seconds. I'm about to pass my rabbit. I can't quite see where my brother-in-law is going, but I'm just huffing and puffing along. Now, the particular course that I am running, there we go, isn't a perfect rectangle or circle around the start and finish line, but it's enough where you can, over the last leg of the race, see the finish line territory approaching, but you can't see the finish line, much less the timer that started when you crossed it. So it's not until the last 150 meters when you make that bend and you see the timer. Now, in my head, I had been doing the math of, all right, I'm I'm doing sub 25. This is not going to be a problem. I might get closer to 24 minutes. And during the last kilometer or so, I'm seeing that my watch is in the 19th minute or so in the timer. So yeah, I got 24 minutes in the bag. This is not a problem. But then I make that last bend, about 150 meters before the finish line, and I see the timer. The timer says 22 minutes and change. Now, remember what I said earlier. I only ran sub 24 once, and that was barely by a second. Beforehand, I was running 24 minutes, 10 seconds or so on a treadmill. And my outdoor time around my neighborhood was averaging around 27 minutes, but yes, I ran a 25, 34, 25, 36, which was a big deal to me. So I'm getting closer to the time, and I'm starting to get emotional because I was not expecting to be in the 22nd minute of the race, much less comfortably within. So I look at the timer as I cross the line, and I stop my timer on my watch, and I'm getting a little emotional. But I'm hiding it in because I didn't want to have to explain to my sister or my brother-in-law exactly why I'm almost on the cusp of tears, but hey, that doesn't matter. All I know is in my mind, I ran my first official 5K in a personal best time of 22 minutes, 32 seconds, smashing my personal best by 1 minute, 28 seconds. Now, it wasn't a perfect 5,000 meters. It was just shy of it. So if you try to calculate my pace per 5K, okay, it's 23 minutes and so on. But that's all right. I'm fine with that. I was still an amazing run, and I'm still getting choked up. But then we get home, at least to their apartment, and because everything was electronically timed, it didn't take long for everything to be posted online. So my brother-in-law tells me, hey, check your times, and I ask him not to spoil it to me. And I want you to think of what I mentioned so far in my long-winded story. Here I was, a person who missed the majority of my athletic prime, to being told I essentially can't be an athlete. Basketball is out, football is out, soccer, running, all of that. And I only got the green light a few years ago to do any cardiovascular exercise, including running. And I'm looking at my time, and this fat ass, as I called myself in recent years, who weighed 255 pounds at his heaviest and weighed in yesterday at about 170, crossed that finish line in an official time of 22 minutes, 21 seconds. I was losing it. But I have to explain something, because if you're going to watch this entire video, which has been going on for about 11 and a half minutes so far, if you're going to listen to this, I have to explain something about that timer. As I mentioned, we were on a bib, and the bib starts your official timer when you cross the starting line. The timer on my watch and the timer for the race itself was based upon what's known as gun time. As soon as the gun starts the race, the clock starts itself. And I started my watch, even though I wasn't up to the starting line to make my official time start. The differential of between when the gun went off and when I finally crossed the starting line to officially begin my timing was 10 seconds. When I looked at my splits, I didn't have the negative splits that you would want a runner to have, or rather, that a runner would want to have for him or herself. My first half of the race was faster than my second half, but not by much. My fourth and fifth kilometer were in the 440s, and my first K was below 430, but nevertheless. The reason why I'm recording this now and then I'm posting it to YouTube at a undetermined time in the future is because I wanted to document not just what I do on Twitch, but also the kind of day that I had. And just to document in improvised language, or semi-improvised to be honest, that I was able to accomplish something that I trained myself to do, that I put my own mind to, and that I invested in myself to do. I didn't have any coaches beyond an app. I did have friends that encouraged me to keep on going, but nobody trained me to do what I had done today. And I'm not saying that I'm some fantastic athlete or anything like that. Heck no. I just ran a 5K in a certain amount of time, and certainly other people can do it faster. That's not my point. I'm not this amazing person, but I went from being told I can't do this to proving myself that not only can I, but I can do it better and faster than I thought I would ever be able to do. And to me, that was just the emotional moment. That's when I knew that I'd be losing it. And again, I didn't want to have to explain myself to my sister or brother-in-law. That's it. But anyway, I celebrated by buying a $300 pair of blue jeans about an hour or two later. Yep. I'll end the recording there. I spent $300 on a pair of blue jeans.